semester, we've kind of broken it up into 3 things. We've talked about what the teacher's responsibilities are. We've talked about what the classroom should look like and what that whole concept of, developing your environment and your classroom culture. What are your rules for your class? What does your classroom look like? And you guys should have your Bitmoji classroom turned in by the end of the day today if you haven't done that already. And so I just want to remind you of that before we get too far along into the day. But I wanted you guys to think about this question that I have posted on this thing. So this is a tool that Miss Torres shared with me. I got rid of it. This is a tool that Miss Torres shared with the CTE teachers on Monday. Last week on Monday, we had a training. And this is a really cool tool. She says that she used it in her class even before. And so what she does with this is you can create a background. You can have an animated one. You can have just a plain color. But it gives you the option of just creating like hey, today we're going to do the Great Wall of China, or we're going to be at the Colosseum, or whatever it is, right? I think this is actually the Brandenburg Gate. I'm not sure. Matthew could probably tell me what exactly that is. It also has a random name tool. And so what you can do is you can take your list of names from your Google Classroom or from your chat, and then you can put the names in here. Luis, Maria, Matthew, and Kim. And it'll randomly pick somebody for you. So that's a really cool tool there. It has dice up to 3 that it'll let you randomize. It'll let you control the sound level in your classroom, which I think is really cool. It'll let you turn off your mic and turn on your mic and things like that. It'll let you embed an image or a video, or like if I wanted to allow you guys to see me in here while we were doing the class, then it would embed a webcam for me. It'll create a QR code. For example, if I want to link this to a quiz or a survey or something, it'll do that. It has a draw option, and you can select what you want to draw. It also has work symbols, which I think these are really cool. You can have silence, whisper, ask a neighbor, work together. This one's also really cool. If it's time to stop, if it's like, hey, we're almost out of time, or you're good to go, things like that. You've got a timer, you've got a stopwatch, you've got a clock, and you've got a calendar. So I think this is a really cool tool. I wanted to share this with you guys today. But I want to talk this 6 weeks about relationship building. Because, and we've mentioned this in the past, but we haven't spent as much time on it as I would like for us to spend on it. So the question that I had for you guys is, if you could go back to any point in history, where would you go? And so I'm going to use my randomizer. And let's see if anyone else has come into class yet. Not yet. I'm going to use my randomizer, and I would like for someone to answer this question for me. All right, so Maria, if you could go to any point in history, where would you go? There's no historical place that you think is like super interesting? Yes. Yeah, that is a historical, like that's a really interesting place. So you would go back to maybe when they were building it, which is a whole long span of time, because I understand that that took a long time. All right, let's see. Thank you, Maria. Matthew, where would you go to any point in history? Ooh. You know what's interesting? My husband was talking to me about this before the Thanksgiving break, and I was like, I don't care. And he's like, but it's very interesting and this and that. And he's explaining stuff to me, and he was super worked up about it. And I was like, I don't need to know this. But he was very excited about, because they were talking about that in the world history class. All right, Luis, what about you? Before 2020, anytime before 2020. All right. And Kim, you're our last one, Kim. Where would you go? Ooh, not the 2020s, the 1920s. Yeah, these are like the sobbing 20s right now. Um, so this is a simple question. It's a simple thing that you can use in your class for relationship building, because now I've gotten an idea of, what are my students interested in? What information do they have? What background knowledge? What are they interested in? And things like that. And so it gives you an opportunity with just a simple question to get to know your students. Now, obviously, we're in a different situation because one, I already know you guys. I've had you all in class for at least 2 years at this point. And so I've already had time to relationship build with you. But when you're in a situation where you have new students every year, or you have, for example, students who are new to school, students who are new to the country, you start to look for ways to build those relationships, to build that bond, to share your common experiences, and always within boundaries, right? Always within the limits of what is professional, what is appropriate, and things like that. And so we always want to be really careful that when we're building relationships, we're not just talking about um, building relationships, but building positive relationships, right? Um, because it is possible for you to end up in a relationship with a student that's not inappropriate because of, oh, there's something sexual, or there's something, nothing of that sort. But it is possible for you to end up in a relationship that is inappropriate because of dependence, right? And so as educators, you're striving for your students to gain independence, right? Whether that's academic independence, whether it's social emotional independence, it's all the ways in which our students grow and learn. We want them to be independent. That's kind of what we model throughout the whole teaching process. Is you don't know how to do it, so I'm going to show you, and then we're going to do it together, and then I'm going to let you do it on your own. So we do that in our instruction. We also need to do that when we're helping students to grow and learn emotionally and socially. And so we tend to see that a lot in the elementary, where we have students where it's a guided play, where the teacher says, okay, this group's going to play with blocks, this group's going to color, this group's going to do this. And so then you transition to older elementary, where the kids just go out and play. And then you get into middle school, where it's more organized, and you have sports and you have things like that, to hopefully high school and as young adults, where students are organizing their own time, creating their own social groups, trying to figure out how to spend their own time. And it happens as adults. We decide, who do we want to spend our time with, where do we want to go, and things like that. And so that's all part of that social emotional development. Now, if I am not developing appropriately, and I'm always dependent on someone else to make those interactions happen for me, then I'm not gaining independence as a person. And so we want to make sure that we give our students opportunities to have positive relationships, but also to gain independence and to find opportunities to allow them to build those relationships between each other as well. So that positive relationship needs to happen not just between the instructor and the student, but between the students themselves. And so you guys have probably seen more of this because you guys hang out socially with other students. But there's always going to be situations where students have impressions or understandings of their teachers that are not necessarily true. Relationships are built on perceptions and interactions. Okay, so I want you to think back, and I want you to think of your favorite teacher from middle school. Okay, your favorite teacher from middle school. Okay, and I want you to just take about 30 seconds. I want you to think of this teacher and think about what were you told about this teacher before you started school with them. Somebody must have told you something about this teacher before you had them as a teacher. Just going to give you 5 more seconds. All right. Let's see. Matthew, who was your favorite teacher in middle school? Okay. Okay. And would you agree that what people told you about him was correct? Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Let's see who's next. Marisa, who was your favorite middle school teacher? Okay. Uh-huh. Wow. And see, but it's memorable and it's something that you are probably thinking like, do I want to do something like that? Can I modify it in some way? You know, like it's something that stood out to you, right? That other teachers probably were like, okay, what is this crazy person doing? Just let him go into class. So that's really cool. Thank you, Marisa. All right, let's see. Matthew already went. Luis, who's your favorite middle school teacher? And what were you told about this teacher? All right. And what had they told you about her? So there was no prior, like there wasn't anything that anyone had told you ahead of time. Okay, cool. And so what did you think of her after you met her? Mm-hmm. Very cool. Well, thank you, Luis. All right, let's see. I still have Kim and Maria. Matthew, it really wants you to tell me about another teacher. This is silly. Yeah, go ahead and go, Kim. Maria's here, but I don't know. Yeah, she'll go after you. Very cool. And so, did you feel like that information, whether it was right or wrong, did you feel like that influenced your class? Like, did people act differently around her because of what they had heard? Yeah, they were very comfortable around her. Yeah, awesome. All right, Maria, who is your favorite middle school teacher? Okay. And what had you heard about this teacher before you had them in class? Okay. And were they really strict? Okay. And so you guys had ahead of time had these perceptions, had these feedback that people were giving you about these teachers. And then when you were actually in their class and you got to meet them and you got to know them, then you figured out that it's not just a perception that gives you an idea about their person, but actually an interaction. And those perceptions, that preloading, um, that's that's important because it happens to students also. Um, there's been situations where, let's say that Luis is, he's a troublemaker. He skips class. He's terrible, right? And so the third grade teacher tells the fourth grade teacher, "Oh my gosh, I hope you don't get Luis because he's terrible and whatever." And so the teacher that he's going to have next year is already, coming in prepared for Luis to be a horrible student. And so those preconceptions, those you know, ideas that follow people around, or those misconceptions that people have of them, they can affect not only not only teachers, but students as well. And it's really important that when we're looking at our students, when we're looking at building relationships with our students, that we really think about having as much openness to who the student is, but also having as much understanding that everybody deserves a second chance, right? That everybody deserves an opportunity to start fresh. And I've seen students that it works both ways, that there's a student that the teacher will say, "Oh my gosh, it's so awesome. You're, huh? Yeah. Yours, is it hardwired or your Wi-Fi?" Yeah, I'm still on. That's weird. Sorry guys, but it can happen in a positive way too, which is what I was trying to tell you, is that you can run into situations where somebody tells you, "Oh my gosh, Luis is so smart. He's reading at this level. His math is this high, his science, he asks great questions, he's super helpful, whatever." And now you come in with this student, um, who has been built up. And so now you expect more from that student. You have higher expectations. You're like, oh, you know what? It's okay. I'm going to, Luis was late today, but it's okay. He's real good all the time. Or, things like that. And so there is a theory that exists, and it exists outside of education as well. But I think it's very powerful when we're talking about education, because like I've told y'all before, what we do, it's life and death, right? And it's called Pygmalion theory. And I know that we discussed this briefly when we were talking about, when we were first talking about this in the 1301. But Pygmalion theory basically is self-fulfilling prophecy. Let me see. Oh, it did close. Sorry. Thank you, Kim. Here we go. Pygmalion theory. So Pygmalion theory is self-fulfilling prophecy. And what this means is what you believe becomes the truth. And this can be really great, right? I believe that I'm going to have a great day. I believe that I'm going to get a great grade on this exam. Positive, motivating talk is good. But it can also hurt you, right? And I already woke up late. It's going to be a terrible day. Today's going to be the worst. Like when you start breaking yourself down, then you're looking for the bad stuff, right? And so Pygmalion theory is self-fulfilling prophecy. What you believe becomes the truth. And so I want you to keep that in mind. And I want you to look. I want you to search. And on Wednesday, you all are going to share with the class. So this is your assignment for this week. Search online for a story of how education, if I could spell, I would be amazing, has helped a student, family, or community in a positive way. Now, I am going to tell you, I'm going to give you some examples. So you have the situation of LeBron James building schools, or building a school, I think, in Chicago. You have charters and magnet schools in DC and in the Bronx that have helped communities. So those are just two examples that I can think of off the top of my head. But you're going to search online for a story of how education has helped a student, a family, or community in a positive way. And then you're going to bring the link. So you'll share the link in class on Wednesday. And you're going to summarize the story for us, but we're going to collect those links, and then we're going to do something with it moving forward. So you're going to share that on Wednesday, and be prepared to explain what happened. Anyone have any questions, guys? No? All right. Then I'm going to let you go for today. I do want to remind you that your Bitmoji classrooms are due today. And so make sure that you get that done. That's due today by the end of the day. And if there are no questions, then you all are good to go. Bye, Marisa. You too, honey. Bye. Bye, Matthew. No, I'm going to go ask Debbie right now. What's up? It's at least 30%. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know that Erica reached out to me yesterday and said that her group has not done anything. Yeah, that was not very motivating. But December 7th. Yeah, on the 7th. Right. Yes. Okay. Yep, sounds good. We'll see you then. No problem. Bye.